What's the difference between anti-Semitism as it is right here and now, as opposed to what it was maybe 5, 10 years ago? Check out this clip from Bari Weiss talking on Morning Joe about this particular thing. So we'll watch this clip together and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
I think the reason it feels different, Joe, is if we think back 5, 6 years ago to the massacre that happened at the synagogue where I became a bat mitzvah, Tree of Life in Pittsburgh, where 11 Jews were massacred, there were two key differences. The first one is that the person that was radicalized seemed mentally deranged. The second thing is that there was universal condemnation and outrage by the surrounding culture. It was front page news. No one had any trouble condemning it. No one had any trouble calling it for what it was, which was absolutely evil. So fast forward to these two recent attacks. The perpetrator in the case of the DC rampage, the murder of Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, two names that should be known to everyone in this country, but you will see no celebrities making videos making sure that we know and say their names. He was extraordinarily articulate. He was evil when you read his manifesto, but it was an incredibly coherent, if not morally upside down worldview. So that's the first thing. He was radicalized by a movement that has created a permission structure for violence and the hunting of publicly recognized Jews in this country. The second thing is the unbelievable silence of the surrounding culture, and if not silence, open glorification on the part of some leftist groups that are celebrating this attack. That is the core difference that we've seen over the span of those 5 or 6 years. And I think one of the things that's been so alarming to watch in this country is that since October 7th, the open anti-Semitism in this country has become more profound, not less. And I think it's profoundly unfortunate that people do not understand the history and do not understand that what begins with Jews does not end with Jews. Fundamentally, what this is about is an attack on the rule of law, attack on the idea that individuals, minorities in this country should be safe, and fundamentally an attack on the West and on America itself. What starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews, and the lesson of history, unfortunately, is people often don't realize that until it's too late.
That hit the nail on the head, and I think it's important for people to recognize that, like she said, whatever starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. This is not a Jewish problem that the Jewish community is facing, or a problem in Israel that the Israelis are facing, or a Middle Eastern problem. This is a worldwide problem. This is an issue where, if you'll notice in the Free Palestine protests that are going on, you'll never find an American flag. They're not people that are typically happy to be here, that are happy to be a part of this host country. You won't find in Britain, you won't find British flags in those rallies and in those protests, because the people that are protesting, you'll find plenty of Hamas flags and Palestinian flags and all sorts of other flags that represent value systems that are different than the United States. Because what is under attack is not just Jews. The Jews are just the, as they call it, the canary in the coal mine. They are just the tip of the iceberg of what is to be gotten over here. The attack is on Western civilization. The same people that are condemning Israel and that are coming and marching in protests and whatnot, these are people that don't like Western civilization and would be all too happy to see the entirety of Western civilization come to a crumble. And so we, as Westerners, as Americans, as people of civilization and not barbarism, need to condemn these acts of anti-Semitism and violence as for what they are. Not just, well, that's a Jewish problem, I'm not Jewish, and so that's I'm sad and I don't think that stuff should happen, but nothing for me to speak out against, nothing for me to feel nervous about or on edge about, because it's part of a different community. What always starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. And if history is going to teach us anything, I hope that is something that we as Americans can learn from, and not just let it be something that the Jewish community is facing and kind of thinking about and on edge about, but something that we should all ask our questions. What undergirds our society. What is the type of society that we are? What is the type of society that we want to continue to be? And if there's an ideology that is actively seeking our destruction, we need to make sure to deal with it head on in whatever means is necessary. If you like this content overall, hit the subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.